200 maintenance workers turned out to the meeting, the sun shining on their decision to extend a week-long strike indefinitely. Union officials say Pacific Power has told workers not to apply for jobs on an over-award site allowance, a system that has served the industry for over 10 years. But with 6 months' power currently in reserve, the real losers in this dispute are the workers, who in the months leading up to Christmas stand to lose $120 a week. And their contractors are not in the most comfortable position either.
They've still got their budgets and time constraints to work within, so they'll certainly be hurting in relation to this dispute.
The meeting also called for talks with New South Wales Minister for Industrial Relations, Kerry Chigorovsky, in a bid to resolve the ongoing pay dispute. Fiona Law, NBN News.
Smoke billowing from an electrical fire in a ground floor room and a drenching from the automatic sprinkler system forced the evacuation of the building just after 7. The fire was a small one confined to an electrical substation, but it struck at the nerve centre of the paper's operations, downing computer lines in the press, halting production on Friday.
The 9-month study interviewed 1,000 people and found all that travelling takes its toll on health and family life. 80% of those surveyed spend up to 4 hours commuting each day to Sydney or Newcastle. About the same amount would prefer not to do it, saying that time spent travelling is unreasonable and unproductive. The report also investigated alternatives, including telecommuting, communicating with the office through faxes and computers. It's been successfully used by the Central Coast and Newcastle area manager of Kentucky Fried Chicken, who works from his Wyong home.
I've been doing it now for about 12 months, and although I had to readjust the way I do my job, but I believe that the communication has really improved, and I can use my time a lot more effectively than what I used to use it.
The group has investigated other alternatives such as carpooling and the establishment of a high-speed ferry, which could alleviate the strain of commuting.
Well, yes, I was commuting, and that's very, very hard, very tiring. I really found a struggle to get myself in my car every morning to hit the freeway again, and I wasted a lot of time just driving or sitting in traffic jams.
The new $1 million bridge will connect Bellingen to North Bellingen. Half of the money for the project was provided by the federal government in an attempt to stimulate the economy around Bellingen and combat unemployment. It was named the Lavender Bridge in honour of Spud Lavender, who deferred his retirement to oversee the construction of the bridge. Bellingen Council Mayor Sue Dethridge officially opened the bridge today. Workers managed to build the bridge in less than a year due to good weather conditions, completing it not only before its deadline but within the budget as well. Long-time Bellingen resident Mrs Florence Kilbourne, who has had a driver's licence for more than 70 years, was given the honour of being the first to drive over the bridge. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. The wind cooperated with Great Lakes Festival Association, whipping itself into a frenzy to keep the kites in the sky. Hundreds of people converged on the shoreline of Foster Main Beach. Many kite enthusiasts had travelled from Sydney and Coffs Harbour for the event, but the real connoisseurs were the children. The kite display will continue tomorrow with an exhibition by the dynamic Sport Kite team. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. The aim of the day was to create a greater awareness among boat owners of the service the Town Beach base provides. On cue, a 33-foot cutter radioed into the base around noon experiencing trouble. The yacht's engine failed and it started drifting with a strong outgoing tide towards a shallow bar. The skipper of the yacht radioed for help and the Town Beach base put a rescue boat on standby. Luckily for the crew of the Sansara, they managed to get their sheets up and sail out of danger before the rescue boat was needed. The incident highlighted the valuable work done by the Port Macquarie Sea Rescue Group and its need for donations to keep going. Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News.
All of a sudden, it's come up big. Oh, the smoke was like a whole lot of tyres were on fire.
TABs across the region reported brisk trading today, most opening at 7:30 this morning. Special forms were available for the less experienced punters. Even some helpful advice was on hand.
Are you a regular punter?
No, I'm not at all.
So how many times would you punt a year?
Probably about once.
Once a year. Last year I picked the first, second and third, backed them each way but didn't take the trifecta.
Processing up to 26,000 betting tickets a minute, the state's TABs today took a record $29 million.
It's the hardest race of the year and, everyone's trying to pick a winner and I don't do any good through the year, so I don't know how I'm going to go this year.
Restaurants provided race day hospitality. Sweeps were filled as soon as they surfaced at the Madison. One noticeable absence from the fashions this year, the traditional Melbourne Cup hat.
Oh, they're too expensive, just for one day. We don't wear them any other day.
Not really a hat person, so...
Not even for the Melbourne Cup?
Not even for the Melbourne Cup, no.
Hotels also put on a show, the Cricketers' Arms making room for nearly 400 guests. Newcastle Knights' Robbie McCormick and Mark Sargent joined in the spirit of the day, and for some experienced punters, it was a good chance to pass on a few racing tips. Newcastle workers held the overall attendance record, with more than 500 enjoying the club's entertainment. At the Queen's Wharf Brewery, NBN's tipster Gary Harley filled the crowd in on Cup Day trivia. Outside, streets were deserted. The race underway, punters hoped this year they'd backed a winner.
Backed a winner! First time ever! First time ever!
I didn't win, but I won on the lucky draw prize, so I'm happy.
Helen Grover is a graduate of America's Advanced School of Laughter. Her infectious hilarity spread to Port Macquarie today when she hosted a workshop of 20 local people.
What I do is to create an awareness for people, to reconnect people, really. I mean, I don't teach things that people don't really know. It's to get the awareness going that we've got wonderful things going on in our lives no matter what.
Helen believes people can and should laugh at anything. Laughter is not only a form of stress relief, according to Helen, but an important form of communication regardless of the way people laugh. Making people laugh is a full-time job for Helen, who is the director of Sydney Laughter Workshops. She has a full bag of tricks that can make even the most serious person laugh.
To be just a little bit out of the comfort zone, like sometimes to go to the supermarket checkout with one of these sort of things on your face, which is zany but takes you out of the comfort zone.
It's a concept that's been instigated by the Port Macquarie Tennis Club to help junior development within the Hastings Tennis Association.
One of Australia's greatest tennis players, Mark Edmondson, was in Port Macquarie to launch the ambitious program. Hundreds converged on Port Macquarie Tennis Club as Edmondson and other tennis pros put on some exhibition matches. Some of the area's up-and-coming young players mixed it with the pros. The crowd was entertained with some skillful tennis and some comic relief by the umpire and Edmondson.
Anybody know the score? Is there a doctor in the house?
The humour, however, belied a serious attempt by Port Macquarie Tennis Club to nurture young talent into the next millennium.
What we're trying to do is address that problem by getting a concept together, Tennis 2000, with the idea of getting some of these professional scientists and dietitians and psychologists to come to our elite juniors.
Jason Neuenhoff, NBN News. All walks of life attended the consultation meeting to see what direction their city was headed. Coffs Harbour City Councillor John Essex Clark defined the nature of Vision 2020.
The document that will be produced as a result of 2020 is a living document in that it provides the process for continuing consultation and management of information and the ideas of the people to ensure we get into the future and not be surprised by it.
One of the keynote guest speakers was David Plumridge, the Mayor of Salisbury in South Australia. He is also on the board of the Multifunction Polis Development Cooperation. He told those at the meeting that Vision 2020 was only the start of work to come.
It's a process in itself. It doesn't itself produce a result. ILAC is a way to get to a result, to a conclusion.
It was expected to be a battle between reigning champion Carla Gilbert and Samantha O'Brien, but the two hardly saw each other. Carla faded quickly and Stacey Cottrell filled her place. The pair went stroke for stroke, Samantha only getting the upper hand in the run home when she found that little extra in reserve.
I knew she was going to be really tired, so I knew I had to just put 110% in that last run leg.
In the Ironman, champion swimmer David McClellan from Cronulla led the first stages until the ski leg. Daniel had never ridden a ski before today, and his lack of experience proved costly. Darren Mercer found trouble of a different kind on the shore. His gear handler failed to put his board out. By the time he found it, he dropped from first to sixth. Local hope Darren Borg from Terrigal was just behind Mercer, but after his win in the open board event earlier in the day, he tired badly. Mercer worked hard to make up for his mishap and managed to catch race leader and brother Dean on the sprint to the finish line.
And I could see him going and going, and he was going to have another go at me. And if he had come past, I don't think I would have had anything for him.
At Swansea Belmont continued their dominance in the boats today, easily winning the under-18s.
Giant pools of smoke dominated skylines along the coast. On the northern side of Port Stephens, a blaze at Hawk's Nest devoured hectares of scrub country as it burned unabated since forcing the evacuation of a caravan park yesterday. Emergency services tried to keep ahead of the fire's advance by boat and National Parks helicopter. Late this afternoon, pushed by a strong southerly wind change, the fire was burning at Narong near Bulladila. On the Central Coast, dense smoke from another blaze near Catherine Hill Bay threatened traffic flow along the highway. Brigades were battling more fires west of Lake Macquarie this afternoon, and all available bushfire units were called to a fire racing through scrub at Kitchener near Cessnock. Firefighters have remained on the fire fronts with little relief throughout the day. Food and drink is being sent through for those who are keeping watch overnight. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
The proposal will see Hamilton Police Station become an administration and command centre under the reorganisation. Officers from Hamilton would be combined with their colleagues from Mayfield to cover a merged patrol area bounded by Adamstown Heights, Hexham to Fullerton Cove. Senior officers believe the move would free police and resources at both stations to better carry out their duties with benefits for the community. If the plan proceeds, Hamilton, Mayfield, Adamstown, Stockton and Lambton stations would all remain operational for community contact. It's believed the proposal is only awaiting public approval, with a commander already selected to oversee the combined police area. Sandra Millwood disappeared from her Head and Greeter home in May this year. The mother of two was found the following day, her body dumped in bushland near Curry, with her car burnt out nearby. 29-year-old Paul Anthony Richardson is charged with the abduction and murder of the woman. He faced Cessnock Court today at the start of committal proceedings, but didn't enter a plea. Today's proceedings were taken up with police evidence, including the presentation of 3 videotaped interviews with Richardson. He repeatedly denied seeing Sandra Millwood on the morning she disappeared. He later changed his story, saying the pair went to Old Dump Road at Head and Greeter where an argument took place. It's claimed Sandra Millwood was pushed to the ground, hitting her head on a log. Unable to feel a pulse, Richardson pulled the body into bushland and set fire to Millwood's car. Members of Sandra Millwood's family were present for today's proceedings. The hearing continues tomorrow.
Police were called to flat 12 at 31 Scott Street in Newcastle on August 19 following the report of a stabbing. In a statement to the court, Detective Sergeant Vince Fallon says when he arrived at the flat he saw Jennifer Watts inside holding a knife which appeared to be blood-stained. She was continually threatening a man, Bevan Payne, with the knife. Police negotiators spoke to Watts in an attempt to convince her to release Payne. Sergeant Fallon says he shot Watts when he thought she was trying to murder him. He says at the time he thought there was no other option available. Watts was taken to the John Hunter Hospital where she gave a statement to police. Jenny Watts has been committed to trial in the Supreme Court. She's facing 3 charges including wounding Bevan Payne with intent to murder. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
At first, it was business as usual this morning at number 5 BHP Wharf until a simulated explosion ripped apart the engine room of the Iron Shortland.
which killed and injured a number of people, and to which the emergency services responded with fire, police, ambulance and police rescue, including also the response on the water. There was also an oil spill because one of the bunker tanks on the vessel was breached, and therefore oil booms had to be put out.
The scenario developed throughout the day. The simulated disaster involving hundreds of personnel testing BHP's critical response to a crisis.
The casualties were selected from the real people on the ship and on the wharf. They volunteered to be made up. They were made up and simulated as really rather horrific casualties and lay around and were recovered. They report to me very effectively that they were well looked after as they were brought over the side of the ship and taken to the John Hunter Hospital.
The success of the exercise was also shared by Newcastle's emergency services.
It is enormous value to the ambulance service in New South Wales, not only to work with their own emergency services such as the police and the fire brigade, but to also participate with BHP.
It was realistic. It used all of our resources and virtually our knowledge to try and get the situation so that it was stable.
There are different issues that need to be looked at, and there are different approaches that can be improved. And I think we've learned a few additional things out of this exercise today.
Across the nation there were hundreds of Armistice Day services. In the Hunter Valley, Maitland's Remembrance Day service had special significance. Descendants of the city's own Great War contingent, 34th Battalion 1st AIF, gathered to remember their Anzac links. Maitland also had a special flower-laying ceremony to remember what's dubbed Maitland's own from World War I. The 34th Battalion was raised in Maitland in January 1916 from the men who took part in the Wallaby recruiting march from the northwest to Newcastle. The men were to serve in various battles.
Australians hear of the battles at Passchendaele, the battles at Villers-Bretonneux, on the Somme, Peronne, Messines. We all know that Australians were there, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of all, there was men from Maitland, there was men from Curry, there was men from Cessnock, there was men from Newcastle, there was men from this area who were at those battles.
The young played a prominent part with Air Force and Army cadet units forming the Honour Guard. Descendants of 34 Battalion gave the Cataflack Party an historic touch. A memorial plaque remembering servicemen and women from all wars was unveiled.
The Boer War, World War I, World War II, Malaysia, Korea, Malaysia, Borneo and Vietnam. Lest I forget.
In a touching conclusion, single flowers were placed at the memorial by members of the public and ex-servicemen, representing various theatres of conflicts, as a mark of respect to all of Australia's fallen soldiers.
"80-year-old Ada Elizabeth Collins was found murdered in her Swansea home on the 30th of November last year. She'd lived alone since the death of her husband in 1987. Back in the witness box today, 70-year-old Edgar Charles from Wallsend. Although he originally denied knowing Ada Collins, he subsequently admitted to having an affair with her. Doreen Charles, Edgar Charles's wife, says the weekend before Ada Collins' body was found, she and her husband were at home. However, Mr. Charles had left the house on the Saturday morning, and on Sunday she hadn't seen him until 11 a.m. Doreen Charles also said after her husband was first spoken to by police, he'd said, "We'd better get our alibis straight. You say I was in bed till 9 o'clock and then you made me tea and toast." Mrs. Charles refused as she was not prepared to tell lies for her husband. Under cross-examination, Mrs. Charles broke down and quietly sobbed. After a break in the proceedings, she returned to the stand but was again unable to continue. She told the coroner that she couldn't think clearly because she was on Valium. The coroner's inquest will continue. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
like me to say to you today, John?
I'm just writing everyone's name.
Owen Craigie caught the eye of night selectors after some scintillating performances for his home club Inverell. In one trial game, the Speedy Centre scored 7 tries and set up at least 3 more. But the Knights weren't the only ones to realise his potential. North Sydney and eastern suburbs also made him substantial offers, but he ignored the dollars and settled on Newcastle.
I like the club in a way because it's in the country. Because the city, I don't like the city. It's a rat race in a way, and it's just one town, which would be good. One team.
The move will mean leaving his schoolmates and family, but he believes he's ready for a change.
Well, there's nothing left. There's nothing here for me now. I've done what I had to do in this area, so I'm just going to try and see if I can make A grade.
Owen will play SG ball next year and go to one of Newcastle's strongest sporting schools, St Mary's at Gateshead, and if he performs well, could be graded by mid-1995.
It took Robert Frost just one night of thinking and, with the help of a local electrician, a week of work to come up with the invention.
It is simple. I don't know why somebody hasn't thought of it before.
The idea is if the tractor tilts more than a set level, say 15 degrees, a siren sounds and a light flashes, telling the tractor operator he's driving on dangerous ground.
It adapts to four-wheel drives, heavier machinery, bulldozers, that sort of thing. But really the main drive is with the tractors. That's where the accidents happen, and I think that's where we need to improve the safety.
It's only a prototype and the final product will be much smaller. At below $100, it's not much to save a life. Robert has entered the device in the Land Farm Invention of the Year competition, and from there he's hoping a manufacturer will take it on.
You've got a patent pending. Mate, you're going to make a fortune out of this.
Well, it would be nice, but I guess when it boils down to it, if you can save a few lives, that's what it's all about.
As the search for Christmas presents begins, shoppers are being asked to include on their list a gift for someone less fortunate. Newcastle Mall was today the venue for the launch of the Samaritan Foundation's Christmas Appeal.
Unless we and other organisations similar to ours receive donations, it's going to be a very grim Christmas for people who've been out of work for a long time.
Knights captain Mark Sargent kicked off the appeal.
Perhaps the best place we can make a start on helping others is in our own area.
A donation to a charity like the Samaritan Foundation will find its way onto the tables and under the Christmas trees of families touched by long-term unemployment.
51% of the people in Newcastle who are out of work have been out of work for more than a year. And in the Hunter Valley, 6,400 people have been out of work for more than 2 years now.
Seth Cheval says the demand in the Hunter is so great that his charity won't be able to give this Christmas unless you do. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Washing left hanging on the line was an indication of the haste in which the terrified family fled the city last night. Warren and Sonia Finch and their 5-month-old baby hadn't lived in the rented flat for long, but had made friends with neighbour Lila McMaster.
Sonia was shaken.
And they pretty much packed their bags last night?
Threw things into 2 bags and away they went.
The couple answered a knock at their door just before 11.
The door was forced open by 4
masked males.
The men wearing pillow slips with eye holes cut out forced the Finches at knife point to lie on the floor while the flat was ransacked. The intruders demanded drugs and took a purse containing credit cards. After reporting the attack to police, the family borrowed petrol money from their neighbour and headed to Manila near Tamworth to stay with relatives. Investigations are continuing. Police wish to contact a former tenant of the Thomas Street flat. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.
Last week, farmer-cum-inventor Robert Frost had an idea. He rang up his local electrician and the idea became reality.
I said, Bob, how can we solve this problem? And while we talked on the phone, we nutted it out, and within 10 minutes on the phone we had it sorted out what we were going to do.
And this is it. It's a simple device mounted near the tractor's steering wheel called a Safe Track Alert. When the tractor tilts beyond a safe level, preset inside the device, a siren sounds automatically and lights flash, warning that the tractor is close to toppling over. Ten people die in tractor accidents in New South Wales every year. At a cost of less than $100, this safety device could well save lives. It's just a prototype and Robert expects the final product will be much smaller. He has entered it in the Land Farm Invention of the Year and is hopeful a manufacturer will take it on. Meanwhile, the exact detail on how the device works is a well-kept secret. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Kirk had accompanied the victim, 27-year-old Dominic Manson, and another man, Andrew Malone, later convicted of Manson's murder, on a boat at Lake Macquarie with the intention of extorting money from him. Kirk maintained she was unaware of a plan to kill Manson and didn't participate in his brutal torture and murder. In November last year, Justice Groves sentenced Billie Jean Kirk in Newcastle's Supreme Court to 6 years in prison for the manslaughter of Dominic Manson. A non-parole period of 3 years was set and an appeal lodged on behalf of Kirk with the New South Wales Court of Criminal Appeal. Today, Billie Jean Kirk's conviction was overturned and a retrial ordered, again for manslaughter. The appeals court heard that the Newcastle jury had been misled in its understanding of the charge. Andrew Lobb, NBN News.